Welcome to Your Iconic Image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Alice Fuller is a TV producer turned social media marketer and consultant, and she's the principal consultant at Sheer Social. Welcome, Alice.
Hi.
So we're going to talk a little bit about something that you know a lot about, which is video production and using video. So first of all, let's back the whole thing up. And what is the advantage of using video over other forms of communication?
Some semblance of transparency. You want to feel as if you're doing business with a human, not a bot, not a logo, not a website, but a human. The best way to showcase you're a human is video.
Well, we've decided we're going to produce video content.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of content should we be producing to help with our
brand? Depends. It depends on your goals. You could be just producing it for fun. The first YouTube video had nothing to do with business. Nothing at all. The first YouTube video was, I think one of the founders was at a local zoo. If you want to do that, that is totally fine. If you are trying to do video for business, though, you need to have an end goal in mind. What does your audience want to hear from you? Do not get into that mindset of creating content that you want to see. And that's real easy to do because you think your audience wants it, but you have not asked your audience if they want it. So do a little research first and find out what the pain points are. Find out what people are talking about. Do a Google search. More importantly, do a YouTube search. See what people are looking for and then start there.
I agree with you. And I tell people that a lot myself, because if you don't know in your video content, in your photo content, in your blog posts, and any of that type of thing, who you're speaking to me, it's the equivalent of putting an envelope in the mail addressed to anyone, anywhere, and hoping that it arrives on the right doorstep. So I agree with you. We've got to know who we're speaking to and actually speak to that person.
And then there's different types of videos to fit different goals. You've got more informational videos. You've got videos for lead generation. You've got entertainment. So once again, you start with the end goal in mind and then kind of work backwards.
If we are looking to build our personal brand with it, should those different types of content all kind of come into play along the way?
Along the way, yes. You don't have to do them all at one time. First, you have to figure out what is your brand. And I know a lot of us get into using brand and companies synonymously. They are not.
Right.
Your brand is the experience that people have with you, your service, your product. Basically, what do people say when you leave the room? Now you can work on that with how you present yourself, how you engage with people. But at the end of the day, they tell you what your brand is, and then you kind of massage that in how you want to present yourself along with the experience you want people to have when you are in their presence.
Right.
So in crafting that, then you start figuring out which video type best fits for what I'm doing right now. It could be just a brand awareness. Hey, my name is, this is what I do. And then as you get further along in your quote unquote marketing funnel, you might do a different type of video where you're explaining a product and or a service. And then you might do a different type of video that's lead gen. So along the journey, you'll do different types of videos, but you don't have to do all of them at the same time.
So then how often should we be creating videos and putting out content?
Well, first, be realistic with yourself. Every social media platform would like you to produce videos every day, almost all day, so that they can use your content to attract more people and keep people on the platforms all day, every day. But realistically, you have to figure out what can you do in your own schedule. because again, creating quality video takes time. Despite the fact that, sometimes you see stuff that looks like they just threw it up, they just threw up the camera and started talking. There is that. But when you're using video for business, you do want to put some some thought into it, into your messaging, into what's behind you, into sometimes the equipment you're going to use, the placement of the video. So it's not something you want to just necessarily take lightly when you're doing it for business. You want to give yourself some time. So on average, most people for a YouTube channel, maybe once a week or maybe 2-3 times a week, but that has to be something you decide for yourself first. How much time do you realistically have to invest in producing videos? And do you need to outsource that? Quite possibly.
What about consistency? Is that more important?
Well, consistency is important because it's almost like your favorite TV show. Every Thursday or every Monday at a certain time, your favorite show is going to be on for at least 2 to 3 months on average. When you show up and your favorite TV show is not playing at the time that you have set up your whole life around to watch, then everything
we live to have people set their whole life around our video content, Alice.
Yes, because once people begin to trust you with their time, we know every day at this time there's going to be a new video. So you'd be surprised how many people will actually schedule, their lives around looking at having time to consume content, especially depending on how they want to consume it. If they want to just scroll through it or whatever, that's one thing. But for those who literally want to sit down and really get a little deeper into watching your video and listening to what you're saying without distraction, that might mean scheduling 30 minutes in your day to watch a certain thing. Same thing we do for primetime TV shows.
Right. Which then brings me to my next question. Is there a length that our video content should be?
That varies. Years that I've been in social media, we used to say, keep it short, no more than 3 minutes. If you're doing 5 minutes, it's too long. People's attention spans are so short. And then Netflix came along to prove that we will binge watch something as long as it's something we find interesting. Forget what the marketing things say, the studies and all of that say. The reality of it is, if we are in it, if we are engaged with it, we are enjoying ourselves and watching it for whatever reason, we will stay there and watch a whole series. That's why they call it binge watching. Your whole weekend is gone watching something that is on Netflix or some other streaming service. So same thing with the videos you're going to create, which makes it hard for you as a producer to a degree, because if your intent is to make quality video, you really have to know your audience well. What would make somebody watch your videos? Now, keep in mind too, your video is in competition with everything else that's going on in the world. So as a producer, what can you create that would inspire that type of give and take of attention?
Should there be an overall storyline to our videos?
It could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be. For informational videos, you could do talking points. That doesn't necessarily has a beginning, middle, and an end. We like to, the platforms now like you to create engaging, quote unquote, engaging content, which is why you have a platform called Stories. But if you'll notice, in many of the stories, the short form content, going back to your original question, how long something should a video be? Right now in social media, we're getting away from telling you that it has to be short per se in some instances. Now we're getting into that medium where it can be as long as it needs to be, as well as when you're looking at the Instagram stories, when you're looking at the TikToks and things of that nature, those short form videos, 15 seconds here, 15 seconds there, or 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, that type of content, if you can put enough pieces together that are interesting, that pull people through, basically it's almost like being a filmmaker.
Mhm.
Every scene in a film is supposed to basically pull you through the story. No scene is just there just to be there, unless it's providing something crucial to the story. Same thing. Even if you're producing little 15-second snippets of something, it would behoove you in many instances to try to pull people along in the story, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. As we've seen, some people just put up little pieces of video that have one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other,
Mm.
and we watch it
Mhm.
because we like that person and we want some insight into their lives, into their behind the scenes. It could be something, some information or some gossip or whatever we find of value or entertainment. So on one end, no, it doesn't have to have a beginning, middle, and an end. Does it help? In many cases, yes, depending on what your goal is.
So once we have this content, I have two questions. Number one, where is the best place to put it? And number two, do certain platforms um, prioritize videos if they are longer?
The first question, where should you put it? That depends on the audience you're aiming to reach. If you're aiming to reach 18 and under, right now, TikTok
Mhm.
is it. But there are a lot of people gravitating to TikTok right now that are not teenagers, but predominantly TikTok and Snapchat, if you're trying to reach that demographic. If you want to reach some older, not old, but older audiences, then you still rely on what we most know, which is the Facebook and now Instagram and YouTube.
Okay. And do these platforms give priority to longer videos versus short snippets or not necessarily?
Priority, I don't know if I would define it as priority, but I would define it as if it keeps an audience on that platform longer, which is why in many instances, especially on Facebook, when you're doing live videos generally run longer than 3 minutes, generally speaking.
Mhm.
So Facebook may give some hierarchy, some quote unquote priority to that, because they know out the gate people are going to stay and watch it, and not only watch it but engage with it longer. The problem with, or not necessarily the problem, but the challenge with pre-recorded videos is that it's passive engagement,
Mm.
meaning they may or may not watch it, and they may or may not like, comment, or share. So you really have no way of knowing if they like the video, no way of knowing if the goal of your video was even met. So that's the problem there. So if you're trying to figure out what's the best type of video to leverage, there is no right answer. The best answer is test
Mm.
and keep testing and keep doing a combination of or a variety of types of videos and see what types of feedback you get, see what kind of engagement you get. And the types of video that get the engagement that you want, that's the type of video you want to continue doing. But still, even with that, it's still good to mix up the content every now and again so people don't create a diet for or an appetite for just one type. Because after a while, they'll get full
Mm.
and then it just becomes wallpaper.
So then how do we drive traffic to our videos?
That does not, that has not changed over the years. You still have to be the producer and the promoter. You can use a variety of tools there, especially on YouTube. There's a thing called TubeBuddy, and that that particular tool is good for giving you insight into search engine optimization, what types of keywords that people are searching for right now. Prime example, if you wanted to do a video about Chinese food for whatever reason, that's pretty broad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go over to YouTube and you put in Chinese food, and you're going to see a drop down of Chinese food. And then you're going to see a drop down of the various types of videos that exist. There in that list should inspire you to say, well, you know what? I can do a video. What's not here is Chinese food for beginners. You know, how to make Chinese food for beginners.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you are trying to, your utensils, frying pan versus a wok. So you've got different types of things that you can look for. And a tool like TubeBuddy would help you see what people are searching for most. And then you craft your video around what people are searching for, not vice versa. Well, I think I like Chinese food. I want to make Chinese food. Thus, I'm going to make a video about Chinese food. Yeah, you can do that too. But if you don't optimize that for search, it'll just be one video about Chinese food amongst millions.
Mm.
So in order to drive traffic to it, then you've got to use some extra tools. You got to tell people in your emails, use other social media platforms. If you want to, you can still go old school and pick up the phone and call people. Or, you know, I wouldn't pick up the phone and call people and say, look, I got this new YouTube video. I need you to go over there and watch it. But I would, well, that depends on the person and that depends on the video. But the same tools you've been using all the while, email, text messaging, social media on other platforms. You can take your YouTube video and put it on Facebook, vice versa. Take your Facebook, put it on YouTube. Although I would tell you right now, Facebook and YouTube do not like each other. They're
Really?
not friends. They are not playing in the same sandbox at all.
Hmm.
Facebook wants to be YouTube. So your best bet would be to upload your video natively to both platforms. Does that mean more work for you? Yeah. No way around that part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you're satisfying two different audiences. So when it comes down to how do you attract traffic, maybe think about collaborating with somebody who's got an audience slightly bigger than yours, or an audience that's similar to yours. So
Mm-hmm.
get out of your own backyard and start networking with other content creators. That's another way to do it too.
So then let me ask you too, at the end of our video or in our comments in our video, whatever, should we also have some kind of a request, like a like, comment, share, and do, in this particular case, do likes way more in the search than shares, or vice versa? Or
Well,
talk to me about that.
that really depends on the platform. Every platform is slightly different and what kinds of engagement they give priority to. So when it comes down to Facebook, in the post, in the text, not the video per se, they
Mhm.
don't want you to use standard call to actions too much. They want you to create a piece of content that was so inspiring that people just naturally like and comment and share. Sometimes we miss the mark on that. So in your video, though, you can tell people what you want them to do next in the video. But when you're posting it, that text that goes, above it, where you're explaining what the video is, for Facebook, that's not necessarily where you want to put a hard call to action. Subscribe now. What's the other popular one? Click this. No, that's not the thing that Facebook wants you to do. On YouTube, fine, no problem. You can put all the call to actions you want in the description of a video. Instagram, no problem. Put all the information you want or that you can in a YouTube description, because you can't use hyperlinks per se.
Mhm.
But if you've got a certain amount of followers, you can tell people to swipe up, to get to the website or whatever else you want. Just keep in mind that once again, each platform wants the user or the viewer or the consumer to stay on that platform as long as possible.
Okay. So then let's talk about the one that I know probably the least about, which is YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of people neglect that as such a valuable search engine and platform and things like that. So what are the benefits of YouTube?
Well, one, right out the gate, search engine optimization. Google owns YouTube. Google is the number one search engine in the world. YouTube is number two.
Hmm.
That's not the case for Facebook. So keep that in mind. Two, speaking of Facebook, Facebook is getting to the point where they're going to make you log in to watch a video. Unless it's on a page that's indexed by Google, you can watch a video on a page, but they're going to bug you to no end to log in to watch it. YouTube is pretty much soon as you get the link, it's right there to watch. You don't have to log in. They're not going to bug you to death about logging in. So it's available. It's open. So the perk of YouTube is that you've opened it up to the world, search engine wise.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a negative? Not really. The only thing is on YouTube, you may not have an audience on YouTube yet. On Facebook, you got your cousins and them, you got your co-workers, you got Ray and them, you got all these other people that are probably familiar with you that just might watch your video. On YouTube, that may not be the case. So that's a whole new world of people that now can be introduced to you, which might be a good thing, because in many cases, the people that know you already kind of take you for granted.
Mm. So how do we make that the case on YouTube? How do we get people to, hey, you know what? We have a channel.
Well, just like I said before, you have to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get out of your comfort zone and promote it. Put it in your email signature. Put it on a t-shirt. Put it on the side of your car if you want to. You really have to promote what you're doing, because otherwise people won't know.
So
Then the other point about YouTube too is that I shouldn't forget, YouTube by itself is a social media platform. I think too many of us look at YouTube as someplace I just put my videos of the family reunion.
mm-hmm.
Or my little personal videos for this and that, or even my corporate videos. But what you don't understand is YouTube is a standalone social media platform that was in existence since 2004. Facebook got into popularity a little bit later,
Mm-hmm.
mostly it was college students. But YouTube since 2004 has been a social media platform. You can like, you can share. They don't mind if you share content off of YouTube. Yeah, they would like for you to stay on YouTube watching videos longer, because it used to be with YouTube, when it was first founded, you would do the one-off video.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus was, I just want one viral video. Just give me one viral, put some celebrities in it, somebody half naked, somebody doing something crazy, and some kittens and some puppies, and bam, we have a viral video. Okay, YouTube has since evolved. So now YouTube wants you to develop channels. It wants to become the CBS, the NBC, the ABCs. And in many instances, more people watch YouTube videos than they do certain programs on regular networks. So the focus has changed. It's not about the one-off video anymore for YouTube. Now they want you to have that consistency you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Now they want you to develop audiences that come every week or hang out every week, and they want them to watch your videos for longer than the 3 seconds required on Facebook. So why did they do that? Just like everybody else. It is not for you. It is for their benefit, so
Right.
that they can put advertising around your content.
So then what would you say are some of the best practices for YouTube? Are there?
One, study the platform first. I wouldn't just jump in. Study some other channels similar to what you want to create. See what you like, see what you don't like, see what they're doing. Are they missing a point that you can add some insight to? So study first. Then after you study, and not only that, study your competition. See what your competition is doing. And quote unquote, nobody has recreated the wheel yet on YouTube. So don't even feel bad about it. Everybody's borrowing from everybody else anyway. So that's one. Two, have you figured out who your target audience is going to be? Now, some people may tell you, well, YouTube is mostly, for people, the young people who are on YouTube a lot. Yeah, to a certain degree. But the reality of it is everybody watches a YouTube video from time and time again. Mm-hmm. Everybody. I don't care if they are 65 years old, because that's how I learned how to fry chicken. That's another story. But there are plenty of people across all demographics watching YouTube videos. So keep that in mind. But also, who's your target audience going to be? What's your messaging going to be? What type of video are you going to create? And then two, don't be afraid to test. I think a lot of us, we get so afraid of being embarrassed, doing it wrong, which is something that younger generations don't seem to have a problem with too much. Mm-hmm. That's an overgeneralization. But they're more willing to jump in, test a new app, throw up some videos, see what happens. We, on the other hand, who are a little bit older, realize that's on the internet forever.
Right. And I think that's a point that also needs to be made. It is on the internet forever. Even if you think it's gone, it's not gone.
Yeah. Sometimes you might be good to put it up and get rid of it before you think anybody's seen it. But it's on a server somewhere. I mean, that's the reality of that. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to test things, because you will never know until you test it. If you're never willing to try, then you'll never know. You'll just be wondering, well, I wonder if this will work. I wonder if that will work. You won't know. I mean, you can look at other people doing it, mm-hmm. but you cannot necessarily look at what they're doing all the time and say that's going to work for you, because you're not them, and they may do it better than you. So you have to find what you do well, depending on how you're going to do, or how are you going to use video. And in many cases, some people may not be that great on video. You have to be honest with yourself. And in many cases, well, maybe podcasting is for you. But even podcasting now has turned into video. Mm-hmm. Right. So at the end of the day, you really have to be comfortable in where you're trying to go, what you're aiming to do. Do you have to be the person that's on camera? You might be able to, as a business, you might have that eager employee who would love, to do the videos and do that type of thing. And in that particular case, if they're willing and they're good at it, let them do it. Test it.
Right. Unless, of course, I do have to say, you are growing your personal brand, then we need to see you.
Yeah, if you're growing your personal brand where it's yourname.com and things of that nature, then yeah, you want it to be you. You cannot think that people want to do business with a logo.
Right.
They don't want to do business with a website. If you are doing life coaching and things of that nature, real personal types of services, I want to hear your story. How do I know you can help me if I don't know you've been through my experience?
Right.
So you don't have to tell all your business, but I want to know that you've gone through what I'm going through right now, and how did you get to the other side of it? Mm-hmm. How are you going to tell that story? And how are you going to use video to tell that story? Because that goes back to, well, how long should my video be? Mm-hmm. If your video is getting somebody from point A to point B, they will sit there and watch it for as long as the video goes. Mm-hmm. Especially if they feel like there's going to be some sort of transformation at the end of it.
Right.
If they're going to get some nugget out of it, they will sit there and watch it. 5 minutes have gone past, 10 minutes have gone past. Now, if you get to the part where you're doing 30 minutes of talking, then the reality of that is, you've got people who are willing to watch you for 30 minutes.
Right.
That's one. But then two, do you want to do that every time? Maybe not. But as long as it's compelling video, and as long as your story is one that resonates with people, don't get into this headspace of, well, I got to tell my story in 2 minutes or less. It's not a job interview.
So if people were to decide today, okay, I'm going to start to use video, what is the one thing that you would tell them to get started?
Like I said before, research and be patient. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a personal process because you have to get comfortable in being on camera.
Yeah.
I technically am now more comfortable being on camera. That was not always the case because I spent a whole career being behind cameras, operating cameras, telling people what to do in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to get in front of a camera when I spent over a decade running away from them, being on the lookout for them so I knew when they were coming and I could get out the way and hide.
Mm-hmm.
To get in front of the camera is a lot of mind talk, is a lot of inner dialogue going on.
Mm-hmm.
So in many instances, going back to that personal brand, can you, or are you willing? That's a better way to put it. Not only can you, because you can do it, but are you willing to do it? At
Right.
least try it. And then once you try it, and I don't mean just one time, and it just all fell, I mean, try it a couple of times. And then you still feel like, you know what, I can't do this. Okay, then maybe not. Video may not be the way you want to go. But at the end of the day, you first have to figure out, am I going to be the one to get on camera? How comfortable am I being on camera?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get into that headspace of, oh, my forehead is too big, because this is prime real estate right up here. I could charge people to have branding here. So don't get into this mindset of, well, I sound horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasters often get into that. When you start hearing yourself for the first time, or you start looking at yourself for the first time on camera, and you start plucking yourself apart. My hair is not right, my lipstick's off, I don't have on my eyelashes, my makeup is people really don't care. Now, if you are a makeup artist, yeah, they would care.
Right. Yeah.
But if that's not what you are on YouTube to talk about, that's not your focus, then that's not what people are there to watch you for. So
Right.
you
And I
really
know,
don't have.
right.
Go
I
ahead.
know for me, I struggled to put my first video out there. I think I retaped it about 25 times. And you want to know how you get over it? You just keep putting out content, because by the time you've put out, I don't know, 20, 30, 100 videos, you get over yourself real quick.
Yeah. But here's the other thing too that keeps people putting themselves in their own way. I'm scared of what people are going to say.
Mm.
Now we got to be realistic about the social part of the social media platform.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to enable comments on your videos. That indeed is true. But if indeed you want to have that engagement with people, so that it's not regular TV where they just sit and watch it, and as much as we talk to the TV, they can't hear us.
Right.
And they're not going to respond. Now, the day when you talk to the TV through to some new AI or technology, and the character you're mad at turns right to you and says, I heard that, then, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So that said, expect for comments to come, and they may not always be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Trolls do exist, but every platform has tools in place so that you can somewhat control a little bit of that. You don't have to subject yourself to that type of abuse over and over and over again.
Right.
And the reality of that too is, once you build a community around what you're doing, I don't care if it's on YouTube or whatever else, your community will come and shut that person down, and more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just to expect one or two to have something to say, because they don't have anything else to do. But that shouldn't stop you from that thought of, well, somebody's going to say something. You hope they say something.
Yeah.
that's, that's what you want. You want to produce something that inspired somebody to say, hey, great video. I'm so glad you shared your story.
Mm-hmm.
If it's nothing but this was so informative, thank you. Or
Right.
you saved me however much money if you're doing a review. Or I was about to go out and buy that product. Now I won't.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, you have to get comfortable with that feedback from
Right.
people
Right.
and expect there to be, a troll or two
Right.
every now and again. But like I said, every platform has tools in place to help you combat, abusive types of behavior on these social media platforms.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, it's also starting with the end in mind, as far as also knowing that you're doing this to help somebody, or you're doing this to instruct somebody, or you're doing, keeping in mind those reasons why you're doing it. Because oftentimes it is not just because, hey, listen, I just want to make this video and so you notice me.
Well, and then here's another thing too, we have to be very mindful of with all the social media platforms. This is true with video and other things too. We get really caught up in the vanity metrics.
Mm-hmm.
I only got 100 people. I only got 100 subscribers on my channel. And then you're looking at other people who have 50 million or 5,000 and you want to be them so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of that is, once again, growth,
Right.
process. They didn't build that in most cases. They did not build that overnight. Now, there are some cheat codes. Let's just be honest. There are some cheat codes, and no, I'm not going to tell you what they are. For some people to basically grow their YouTube or grow their Facebook or whatever overnight.
Mm-hmm.
They do exist. But for you, you have to trust the process. You have to promote what you're doing. You have to create content that people want.
Right.
And I think that's the hardest part for people. How do I know what people want? Start doing more listening than talking.
Mm.
Start doing more researching than posting. Start there, and then let that information that you glean from listening and researching, then you have a kind of a formula to say, okay, this is what's missing from this conversation. This is what people are searching for that nobody is really addressing. This is a conversation that everybody's talking about. So I can leverage the fact that this is something that people are talking about right now, but I want to add this piece to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to learn the tricks of the trade to a degree that get you the views that you want so that you can continue to grow. But the other part about that is, because you only have 100 subscribers, you give up.
Mm.
You say, I did my 10 videos or I did my 25 videos. I'm still not getting where I want to go. I'm a year in and I just don't feel like I'm a YouTube influencer yet.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
Most
meanwhile, you had 100 people that are willing to listen to what you have to say.
You have 100 people that were willing to subscribe and that are looking at you for what you came there to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't sacrifice that 100
Right.
in pursuit of thousands of people who care nothing about you.
Right.
They care nothing about your product, your service, your channel, none of that. But we know people will chase that because, I hate to say it, but I'm just going to keep it 100, just to keep it real. People do look at the vanity metrics a lot
Mm-hmm.
because they see the potential. But there's more than one way to show people potential.
Mm-hmm.
So, but don't allow that to be the main reason why you do anything in social media is just for these numbers.
Agreed.
Because if the platforms, as certain platforms have been testing, Instagram has been testing for a little while, not showing people how many likes a post are getting.
Mm-hmm.
If YouTube were to do that, would you still watch a video if you didn't know how many other people had watched it before you?
Mm-hmm.
So then there's that conversation.
Love it. And I know that you are actually putting together a summit that
Yes, a
talks
summit.
into all of this. Tell us
Yes,
about that.
a virtual live streaming summit. Live video is going to become the default. For years and years, I have been pushing people into doing live video. And they kind of laughed at me. They scoffed. No, I'm just not ready for live video. That's, because once again, it's live.
Mm-hmm.
All my mess ups, all my flaws are right there in front of people. I can't stop the camera and edit
I
or
can't put that word back in my mouth. Yeah.
can't put that word back in my mouth. I can't delete it, clean it up, or redo it and put it up there and act as if nothing happened. It's live video. Now, honestly, I've worked in live TV for a long time. So it's a little different for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not different for me because that's a news station.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's checking for the editor. Nobody's checking for the producer. Mm-mm. The minute you put yourself in front of that camera, the stakes do change. But here's the positive. To err is human.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it is a live video and you stumble or things go wrong, people will see that as something to learn from. Yeah, they might laugh at you. It's true. Very true. They might even, I can't believe this video, was so unprofessional. But at the end of the day, the more you do them, the better you get at them.
Right.
And the more comfortable you become with doing live video. So for me, this virtual summit that I'm doing April 7th, which is on a Wednesday, I do believe, I want people to understand why YouTube may be where you want to go versus Twitch. In many cases, or Facebook versus LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your social media platforms now have live video, and that is not going to change at all.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to leverage live video, where do you go first? So this summit that I'm doing, every speaker will be an expert in a particular social media platform and live streaming on that platform.
Love it.
What are the pros and cons of streaming on YouTube or even Amazon? Because Amazon now is the new QVC.
Hmm.
So if you are a person who likes to sell products and you basically you apply to become an affiliate marketer through Amazon, and then they also have Amazon influencer programs, and you can set up your own QVC, your own live streaming, and just sell Amazon products all day, every day,
Hmm.
and make money. More importantly, and make money. So you've got lots of options now.
Yeah.
And it can be a little overwhelming when you realize how many options you do have.
Right.
So this summit, hopefully, once people attend and when they leave, once I roll credits on it, they'll say, hey, you know what? I now know the benefits of YouTube versus Facebook. So I think I might start my first streams on YouTube or
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. I think I'm gonna stick with Facebook. I think right now I'm gonna stick with Facebook, but down the line, I might want to multi-stream.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't even know you can multi-stream or
Yeah.
how to
Right.
multi-stream.
Right.
I'm developing it right now.
Okay.
So you can email me at Alice@Sheer Social. Try saying that fast. SHEERCO. No, I can't even spell it right myself. Sheer Social. SHEER OCIAL.com. Sheer
And
social.
I'll make sure that's in the show notes too.
Oh yeah. What
So if
the air is human.
Yeah. So if people miss, like, let's say they listen to this episode and this has already aired, are there other places that they can find this kind of information from you?
Okay. Well, I can be reached through email. I can be reached through Twitter. It's just a Sheer Social. Facebook is facebook.com, Sheer Social. Um, Instagram, Sheer Social. So I'm everywhere you would expect a social media professional to be.
4 final questions for you, Alice. First thing, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Trust the process, I think is good, because for what we're seeing in social right now and just in life too, um, you just can't skip certain phases.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we would like to go from point A to point B and wiggle our nose and I dream of Genie
Yeah.
it, you can't.
Right.
You gotta go through the various processes to get from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
And take value in the lessons that you learn along the way.
Mm.
Because sometimes it's not about the destination,
So
it's
true.
about the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that to be true.
So share with us one thing on your bucket list.
Something that I want to do before I leave this earth. Mm-mm. Get this event done. I would love to be able to say I want to travel the world, and I want to see the sunrise over the Mount Kilimanjaro. No.
It's simple. Just get the event done.
Just get the event done at this point. I'm pretty simple in that. And a lot of what I wanted to do in life,
Mm-hmm.
I've done.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when the toy companies get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
Um I'm going to be totally honest. Now, as an action figure, uh, even though I will be plastic, I still want a place to live. So I want a house.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can do I want like a Barbie style. It didn't have to have a pool because I'm plastic. Nobody cares. But I don't want to just sit on a shelf and collect dust. So I just want a house that I can reside in and just sit and look pretty as people come visit. Another accessory, and I jokingly say this, but I'm somewhat real too with it, is I want a nice Ken doll, because nobody wants to be a lonely action figure.
That would be true. That would be true.
So then Ken and I can get in in the play car and go places.
Or swim in the pool
Or
that you
swim in
may
the
or may not
pool.
have.
Although maybe his name won't be Ken, maybe it'll be Jamal. But but at the end of the day, even as an action figures have more fun when they when they can go out and save the world
With
or
other action figures.
with other action figures. That's right.
It's
You
true.
do the high five at the end, something.
Love it. And last one, Alice, where do people find you? One more time.
You can find me at sheersocial.com. I forgot about LinkedIn. That for some people that might be a go-to. So if you do a search on LinkedIn, I'm the one that looks like me. And you might want to filter your search to North Carolina. That would probably help too.
Okay.
Or I think on LinkedIn it's the not North Carolina, it's Raleigh Durham. I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can find me there. Like I said before, Facebook is facebook.com, Sheer Social. Twitter is just at Sheer Social. Instagram, it's Sheer Social. That's pretty much it. And the website and email is Alice at Sheer Social.
Love it. And I do have to say too that you also have a live show that you do on Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, I do
Your
this.
social fan page.
Yeah, because every week something is going on in the world of social media. Social media now is such a part of what we do every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a show called The Social Media Scene. and I provide you some of the top headlines and discuss some of the major things that are going on in social media. And sometimes I bring on a fellow social media professional or somebody who's doing something in social media, maybe or some social media related, like a publicist and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And we talk about what's going on in the world of social every
And
Friday at noon on the Sheer Social fan page.
and Alice is also taking her own advice because these are live.
Oh yeah, they're live. They're quite live. So I'm gonna tell you now. Uh, you will see some instances where I hit the wrong button because I'm the producer, I'm the director, I'm the technical director, I am the production assistant. Oh, and I'm also the talent.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, for now. So yeah, in many instances, you may see a snafu or two, but you'll learn from it because
Mhm.
if nothing else, if you're not comfortable sometimes making an error in front of people, you really won't be able to leverage going live. Because even in regular TV, we see reporters mess up all the time.
Mhm.
And if they can do it and in many instances still keep their jobs, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend it. It's a great show. And thank you so much for being here, Alice.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.